So we're basically ready to roll. Did we think of a sponsor? How about today's episode is brought to you by Space Mops. They're just like mops, but they're in space. Would that work?
Yeah.
All right. To Go Boldly is sponsored. Theme song. Ba-da-ba-dum, ba-dum, 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 bum. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of To Go Boldly. My name is Olaf, and I'm joined today by Dave Crossman.
Howdy, 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 folks.
Dave, why don't you tell the people why you couldn't be here for the last episode?
I wasn't there for the last episode because I was in a coma.
I just meant because you have a job.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Hi, my name is Olaf. Welcome to Go Boldly, episode 2. I'm joined today by Dave Crossman. Dave, why don't you tell the people why you couldn't make it to the last episode?
I was...
Liar! Today's episode, we're going to focus on the characters of Star Space. In the first episode, we talked a little about the show, the past, the present, and the future. Was there anything you wanted to add to last episode?
The history of Star Space has been an interesting kind of, I would almost say like a tree to watch and grow because, you know, looking back on it, it almost seems like a straight line. Like, hey, we have an idea, let's figure out this green screen thing, we'll cast it, and we'll animate it. And there we go. But as you mentioned, we explored a lot of different branches. On the script side, we went through many variations of the story, how to introduce people to the world and the characters in a very short amount of time was a challenge. Like I said, we went down many paths to try to find the right combination of humor and exposition and world building. So it's just really interesting how it's been a very organic, living process about how the story doesn't exist just in of itself. It's very holistic of the actors who are putting their spin on the characters, adding a lot to the characters, and how we see the characters in the world change will affect the story as well. And it's always just a very living, breathing thing, and things around it change it as well. It's been fantastic to work on.
Nice. Yeah, that paragraph took longer than the whole first podcast. So today we're going to talk about the characters, but before we do, I just want to talk very briefly about the nature of parody and comedy as it relates to Star Space. So Dave, what is comedy?
Comedy, I think technically defined, is the combination of two disjointed concepts. And
I love it.
I
Let's talk briefly about parody, because I think a lot of people are going to look at this show and say it's a parody of Star Trek. And we use Star Trek or the space genre as kind of a launching off point. But the joke that we're making is really the initial joke of what do the janitors on a spaceship do? And after that, it's really not so much a parody of Star Trek as it is just kind of a humorous show set in space.
Yeah, like you mentioned in the first podcast, our original genesis of the show was Captain Kirk saying something like decks 4 through 12 have suffered 100 casualties. And, you know, when you're on the bridge, when you're in your ivory tower, those are just numbers. But we were like, well, that's a guy named Bill. And, you know, he had dreams and a collection of figurines or something. You know, that guy had a life.
No one in the future is named Bill. It's way too simple a name.
And we kind of wanted to explore the people who get the non-glamorous jobs in the glamorous world of futuristic space exploration.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We're not scary movie type of parody where every line is going to be a pop culture joke about Star Space or about Star Trek. That Star Space is a place for us to explore ordinary people's lives in a fantastical setting. And with that, let's talk about some of these ordinary people. The thrust of the show is often led by the actions of the main crew on the bridge.
A lot of troubles stem from Dirk.
Dirk is the captain of our ship, and his actions and decisions often lead to the consequences that our crew have to deal with. So why don't we talk a little about Dirk? Who is he as a leader?
So Dirk as a leader is interesting. I love Dirk
You
because
just did the politician thing where you used my question as a way of stalling for
you're listening to a
time.
lot of NPR.
That's a very interesting question. What I like about that question is the way you phrased it in a forward direction.
I like that I was involved.
I liked how you mentioned my name and used linear time.
Dirk is almost a perception of everybody's boss. The emotional perception we have of those in authority that we don't always trust or always believe in.
He is the kind of guy who's confident beyond measure. A lot of times that confidence can lead to not bad decisions, but just bold decisions.
Yes.
And sometimes just making a decision is what is needed. But a lot of times the right decision would have been more useful.
So he makes bold decisions. He is your guy. If you need a decision made now, he will make a decision.
Right.
But also, Dirk's life is so fast-paced and filled with adventure that he doesn't take the time to think about the consequences. Sometimes somebody who is an eternal optimist, they always figure things are going to go well. And even if they don't go well, they'll change the perception of things or look at it differently to see that how it did go well. So if Dirk loses 50 crew members, he'd be like, at least it wasn't 51.
Right.
And to him, that's a win. And it kind of, fuels the fact that he was right in his bold decision making.
Yeah.
Yeah, so effectively, they needed somebody to make bold decisions all the time. Dirk can do that.
Yeah.
That's why he's the captain.
Dirk is flanked by his able science officer, Vorst, who is perhaps the epitome of a Nulkin. Nulkins, of course, being our parody of the Brazilians. Of Smurfs, of Vulcans, pure logical beings. And that's kind of all you need to know about him. He's the archetype of a man in his society of pure logic. Also flanking Dirk is Dr. Tull, the ship's doctor.
Dr. Tull is the heart to the trio of Dirk, Vorst, and Tull. Vorst is the totally intellectual, a big thinker. Dr. Tull always brings in the very kind of human perspective. He comes from a background of, being the head of a hospital, working his way up through the ranks. Very competent doctor who's always prided himself on having little extra charm, always having a great bedside manner, on that knowing that in order to make a patient get better, to heal, you have to also heal their heart.
So these three characters sort of reflect in our true leads of the show, Reggie, Mock, and Legs. Reggie is the commander of the janitorial squad. He's worked his way up the janitorial squad.
He's dedicated himself to be a janitor. He has wrapped it up into his identity. He feels that always promoting and showing the values of janitors will therefore increase his own value.
Yeah. In a way, he's a guy who appreciates a job well done, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's easy to look down on people who have jobs that seem dirty or lame, but he just wants to do the best possible job he can, no matter what his job is. His job just happens to be in janitorial services. I respect those people who have a job like that and don't just go, oh God, my lot in life. I will do this as well as can be done, I can put a trash bag in a trash can better than any man I know because I've done it 50 times and then 100 more beyond. Like, you get good at the skills of your job, whatever those may be, and Reggie's a guy who wants to be the best at his job.
He recognizes how important being a janitor is on a starship, especially one that encounters alien viruses and is awash with weird blood. Keeping pipes unclogged while going at 10 times the speed of light is a big deal.
It's a scientific improbability.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens to a toilet in warp? Does it spin clockwise?
Well, if you're orbiting Australia, I think. So yeah, so he has an appreciation for that which is underappreciated. He has risen through the ranks because he is aware of how important it is.
Yeah. And in a way, if he does his job well, you can't see it.
Yeah.
It sort of becomes an inverse success ratio. If he does his job really well, you can't tell that there was a job to do.
Right. In fact, some people might want to fire him because why do we need janitors?
Right.
These toilets are so clean.
Yeah. Alongside Reggie are his two stalwart companions, Legs and Mock, his Nulkin. They're just like their bridge officer counterparts, but with a few little flaws. And let's talk about Legs.
Legs is the heart and lungs of the trio.
And he is the kind of guy who's had a lot of access to medications and has tried them all.
He started out as a war medic. He used drugs to comfort people, and then he started using them to comfort himself. And almost got to the point he couldn't remember what he was getting away from.
A lot of people early in life experience such an exciting moment or a traumatic moment. They spend the rest of their lives trying to find that height of experience again. It sounded really important. I don't know if that made any sense, but
Growing up, we knew, a decent number of people who had been to Vietnam and come back, and they had been changed, and we had experienced the stereotype of the somewhat drugged out veteran.
burnouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were just kind of wandering the American Southwest. Like,
Sure.
I met a few.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would just say funny things.
Yeah.
Because they had like shed so much like social
Ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and social conformity.
Yeah.
It no longer meant anything to them anymore. So they were kind of like real truth sayers to things. But at the same time had a hard time being in a position to actually change or affect the things that they found problems with in society.
Let's move on to Mock, the third and perhaps most interesting corner of our triangle. Mock is a Nulkin, and Nulkins are known for containing all of their emotions. But a select few Nulkins can't quite contain all of their emotions, and so one slips through. For Mock, that is extreme unadulterated joy.
Mock is kind of an extreme version of that friend who smiles or laughs inappropriately.
Yeah.
There are some people, when they get scared, they laugh.
Yeah.
And it's not that they find the situation funny, they're terrified out of their mind. But that translates to a reaction that seems like they're just high on goofy juice.
I think almost everyone has laughed so hard they've cried. This is sort of the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Crying so hard you just start laughing. Because what else can you do at some point?
So Mock's situation is that when she is scared, it comes out as this overabundant joy. She just can't help it. She just can't help appearing like she's having the best time in her life when certain death is at the door.
Let's talk about the rest of our crew, starting with Angus.
Angus is another character very dedicated to his craft. He is very competent. In fact, he could be an engineer in any department. Came to the janitorial squad mostly due to social anxiety.
So Angus is a guy who has trouble fitting in society. And in the janitorial squad, he's found a home. I just said what you said, but I said it the other way around.
Yeah, that was way better.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah. What I've really liked is that our actor that we've cast in the role of Angus has brought a Minnesotan accent and charm to the character.
Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wisconsin. What did I say?
Minnesota.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
a different state.
He has brought a Wisconsin accent and feel to the character, which I love. I feel it gives him a lot of authenticity. Prairie Home Companion.
Again, Minnesota. You're really pissing off people in Wisconsin right now.
All right.
Oh, this is staying in.
Edit all of this. But I almost pictured Angus as a guy who came from a farm, but it was a farm of mechanical things. So he still has that's the way life is kind of feel to
Gotta
him.
do my chores.
Yeah. No matter how weird or disgusting they are. Like, he's unfazed because he's just seen stuff at its base component level.
It's all pieces and parts to him. So his attitude towards the world is that everything's just normal. Who's next?
How about Noah?
How about we talk about Nala? Nice. You see that? That was professional
That
right
was
there.
good.
Yeah. Nala is the communications officer of the janitorial crew. Why does the janitorial crew need a communications officer?
Nala is kind of a focal point for the reality TV generation. And one of the big allures of that is that you just do what you do, record it, post it. The virtue of your presence gives your presence value.
Yeah.
It's the famous because I'm famous
Yeah.
thing. Nala aspires to be that. So because of that,
She's the kind of person who wants to win the lottery.
Yeah.
But never buys a ticket.
Right. If I look good to all these people I don't know, I don't actually need to expose who I am or explore it. I've got that validation already.
Yeah.
And it's honestly like a way to protect yourself from some truth about you that you don't want to face.
It's kind of super sad.
It is. A lot of it is.
Yeah, it's kind of.
A lot of these characters are really sad deep down.
Oh, we're gonna cry.
You know.
Go boldly, episode 2, the one where we cry.
Welcome to Ingredients for Depression.
Well, I'm trying to think of a transition I haven't used yet. Another member of our crew is Takashi. He's the specialist in operating heavy, unusual, or dangerous machinery. Bam, nailed it.
Takashi is a victim of high intelligence. So Takashi is very intelligent, not only at piloting, but at almost everything. Like, it's almost genius level IQ. But unfortunately, one of the downsides of being so smart is that it kind of decreases your ability to be happy.
In a way, Takashi's too smart for his own good.
He's the opposite of ignorance is bliss.
Knowledge is misery.
Yeah, yeah. So because of that, he's kind of I wouldn't say like a nihilist.
Yeah.
Just because he hates labels. He's kind of almost like the opposite end of a spectrum from Nala. He doesn't go someplace else because it's all equally unimportant.
And the last member of
They are all sad.
You're just now realizing this. Another mainstay of our crew are the interns. It's the lowest job in Space Fleet. Our favorite intern is called Nico, the epitome of boundless enthusiasm. Oh my god. The epitome of boundless enthusiasm. The epitome of boundless enthusiasm. It doesn't feel natural
That's a hard
at all.
one.
I love it though. It's the exact right line.
Say dull withdrawal. That's not so hard.
Dull withdrawal?
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah.
Our favorite intern is Nico, the epitome of boundless enthusiasm. Bam! Nailed it! Yeah! Okay. Yeah, Nico's a dreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because of that, he sees the intrinsic good in everything around them.
Yeah. In a way, he's the perfect employee because all he wants to do is be great at his job and have his job be great. In a way, he's sort of Reggie's protege.
Yeah. He's a reflection of Reggie.
Yeah.
But like 20 years younger.
Right.
So anything that Reggie says, Nico takes almost as like a gospel. Like when no one's looking, he writes it all down. He wants to remember this. He wants to get it right.
Right. Nico is the ray of hope in all of these people's lives in a way. And he is the mainstay of the interns. Other interns come and go, mostly go.
Some of the interns, so that includes Bobby Joe, Gary, Maka, and Mohinder. They're there just to get their foot in the door, to get on the giant starship flying through space, just so they can move on to something else.
Some of our other crew also include
Lieutenant Zaz. She is a person who is always busy and doesn't have any time for any talk back or any questions. By the time she's done talking to you, she's already moved on to 2 other things.
Also on the crew is an ambassador from the Grakorian people, simply known as the Grakorian to the rest of the crew, who also don't really know that he's an ambassador or an important person amongst his people.
The working theory is that his universal translator's broken, so he can't tell them he's an important dignitary who's only 1/3 away from the president of his planet.
That's a quick look at some of our crew. Anything else to add before we head out?
Yeah, I really hope that this first episode is a springboard to tell more stories. Like, on the surface, it just seems like we're telling jokes in space, but these characters have a lot to them, and I want to see their further adventures. And I'm really glad of all the people who've decided to come along with us and make this a reality.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for joining us for episode 2 of To Go Boldly, all about the characters. Next time, we're going to talk about some of the technology that allows us to bring this show to life. But in the meanwhile, I'll leave you with that famous Nulkin saying, die soon and be poor. Dave, say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye, nice people.
And say goodbye to the bastards.
Goodbye, bastards.
Today's episode of To Go Boldly was sponsored in part by Star Mops.
And theme song.
Wait, are they made of... hold on.
Stars. Are the mops made of stars?
Yeah. How would you hold that?
This mop is made of pure space. Star Mops. Remember, don't look at them!